We have some breaking news. The Blue Jays have made a sneaky good signing as they have signed a lefty bullpen arm that throws absolute heat. We're going to break down the signing and discuss what it means going forward as the Jays desperately needed another lefty in the pen. But before we get into it, folks, if you're part of that 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Thank you guys for your continued support. We just hit 16,000, so thank you guys for that. We're now on the road to 17,000. But ladies and gentlemen, a ton to go over today. The Jays have added to their depth in the bullpen and did so in a pretty interesting and big way here, and it is in the form of Amir Garrett. Now, I will preface this by saying this is from this tweet just dropped a little bit ago from Johnny Gunta of the Gate 14 podcast, so full credit to him. We know if you follow along with him, he's I think he's now 9 for 9 when it comes to sources. And he says, happy for my friend Amir Garrett. Even though he called me last night and told me I wasn't allowed to tweet it, I will let it slide. Welcome to Toronto, my friend. So again, I will preface it by saying Shada VD, Ben Nicholson-Smith, those guys haven't came out and said anything yet, but Johnny, of course, has a relationship with a lot of these players, and he's been right on every single thing that he's tweeted when it comes to Johnny sources. So huge shout out to them over at Gate 14, and shout out to Johnny as well for this. And I did confirm with him that the signing is official. However, we don't know if it's a major league or minor league signing yet. As details come out, I'll have another video for you, but I just wanted to give you guys the latest news surrounding this. But I did confirm with him that it is a deal. He is the Blue Jay. So now that we know that, this is pretty exciting because Amir Garrett is an electric player because, again, he's not going to be a guy who is going to be an elite bullpen arm, but the Jays desperately needed a left-handed pitcher. And that was one of the big remaining things of course, aside from a bat. And we knew that Ross Atkins has come out and said numerous times that the way they're going to upgrade their team is through the trade market, aside from the bullpen now where you didn't really have a lefty. Genesis Cabrera, gone. Tim Mesa left last season, of course. The Jays DFA'd him. So now you were left with Brendan Little, who has had a very good year, but having either another lefty or being able to battle through camp with a guy like Amir Garrett is extremely interesting. And you see this tweet from yesterday from Amir Garrett. Basically, he tweeted at someone saying, I would love that. All I need is an invite, and I'll take care of the rest, talking about an invite to spring training. And guess what? He got it with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, you have to assume based on this, this tweet, it's probably a minor league contract with the opportunity to, turn into a break the team out of camp. Again, as the time of recording, we're still waiting to hear officially from the big reporters as they get details. However, again, this is pretty exciting because, I'm a big fan of A, Amir Garrett, and B, most importantly, just having people that are able to, battle for competitive spots on this bullpen, specifically lefties, because they have Brendan Little right now, and then now you have Amir Garrett. Now, regarding Amir Garrett, you can see this here from Zach. Brendan Little, Richard Lovelady, Josh Walker, Amir Garrett, going to be a pretty healthy competition for that left-handed relief spot in the bullpen. And that's one of the biggest things you have now, because you are in a point with the Jays bullpen where it is much improved compared to last season, but specifically from the right-handed side. When it comes to lefties, there's not much remaining there. Again, you have Brandon Little, who was a very good option for the Jays last season. Richard Lovelady you got, he's in a fight for a spot. But I think Amir Garrett has the highest upside out of any of these guys, because he is an absolutely electric player when he's healthy. And let's dive into some of his peripherals. Now, last season, he's coming off a very bad year, but he only played 6 games. So he played 6 games last year. The year before, and of course, it was for the Angels, the year before in 2023, he put up a 3.33 ERA in 27 games. Now, he is not going to be a guy, I don't think, at this point of his career that is going to be putting up numbers that are, really impressive. And I'm talking about, between really anything below a 4 ERA. I think at this point, he's probably a 4, middling 4 ERA type guy, which I think is what is fine for the Jays, right? Genesis Cabrera came in when they, claimed him off of waivers from the Cardinals a couple seasons ago, and he came in and was very effective. I think Amir Garrett can be similar to that. Now, he throws absolute gas. You can see this here. He averages 95.5 miles per hour with the fastball. I believe we've seen him touch 100 before earlier on in his career. He strikes out a ton, and he does, when he gives up contact, I will admit it's pretty hard contact. You can see this here. But it is a signing that adds to the depth of this bullpen. And that's one of the biggest things that you look for when you're specifically talking about minor league signing guys. And this is probably a minor league signing with the opportunity to break camp out of spring training, depending on how the competition goes between, say, Little, Lovelady, Josh Walker, all these different guys. Now, of course, Amir Garrett has the most experience in the majors among those guys. He's here from Codify just yesterday. Front offices, make sure you take an extra look at Amir Garrett. With the physical ability comes the intensity, passion, and relentless competitiveness. He's a guy you'd much rather have on your side rather than facing you. And there was just a lot of buzz about Amir Garrett because he was throwing, in camp. He has a bit of an interesting, not a sidearm delivery, just an interesting delivery. Again, back with the Reds a few years ago, he was an elite pitcher in this relief pitcher in this league. There was a time where some people thought he was one of the best relief pitchers in the league. And let's go back and look at some of those times. And that was years ago. But in 2019, he had a 3.21 ERA in 69 games. 2020, the COVID-shortened season, 2.45 ERA. There was a handful of seasons there where he was really, really good. And as recently as 2022, he was at least relied upon a lot. And that was, of course, with the Royals. Now, the past couple of years, he's been battling injury a little bit. Obviously, 6 games last season. The year before, 27 games, like I mentioned. But he has the intangibles there, and that's the biggest thing. He has the intangibles to be a very solid pitcher, and he strikes out a lot. Over 1 strikeout per inning. Over 9, Ks per 9 Ks per 9 innings. So I'm excited about this, and I want you to let me know down below. Again, shout out to Johnny for the scoop on this. Do you think he's going to break at a camp? Because as you look at now, let's look at some of the other things that he has. Let's look at the bullpen from the Jays' perspective. Now, you obviously have Jeff Hoffman, who you're going to assume is going to be your closer. You have Chad Green as your setup man in the 8th. You have Eric Swanson, who's figuring. I mean, you also have Jimmy Garcia. Like, the bullpen is extremely deep when it comes to I mean, who is going to pitch where? You have to assume Jeff Hoffman is a closer, maybe Chad Green. You have to assume Jeff Hoffman. And then Chad Green, Eric Swanson. You also have Jimmy Garcia. Now, Jimmy's probably going to be, you could argue Jimmy's going to be the 8th inning guy. You could argue Chad's going to be the 8th inning guy. Jimmy's going to be the 7th inning guy. Whatever order you want to put it in is kind of irrelevant here because you look at the lefties. Again, Josh Walker, Easton Lucas. Of course, you have Richard Lovelady. You also have Brennan Little. And Brennan Little is the guy who pitched for the Jays last season and probably has a little bit of an upper hand. If you slide Amir Garrett into here, that's a very healthy competition for that left-handed release pitcher spot. Now, there is a world where they run 2 lefties as well. You see that across the MLB now, especially with the 3-batter rule. You kind of have to run multiple lefties most of the time, even though now with that rule, lefties are a bit more, or I guess a bit less needed simply because you can't bring them in for, let's say, just a couple lefties in a row and then take them out. But I think if you're the Jays now and you're looking at what you have in the bullpen, it's going to be very interesting. Speaking of the bullpen in general, I don't think people are talking enough about how good this bullpen can be. There is advanced analytics going out there, and I'll have a video on this, as we approach, the regular season, that has the Jays ranked as a top 10 bullpen now, up from by far the worst in baseball in 2024 last season, right? It was the worst in baseball, and now you make these additions, and I'm not saying Amir Garrett can propel them over the top, but the additions of Nick Sandlin, someone who's not spoken about a ton because he wasn't the headliner in the Andres Gimenez trade. Guys like Jeff Hoffman, arguably the best relief pitcher that was available. You could argue Tanner Scott. Maybe Scott's a little bit better. He got the bigger contract. The best right-hander available in the bullpen. Your bullpen now is very solid. And if you have a decent year out of Amir Garrett, even if you get a 4 ERA, he is a lefty. He is a fireballer. It gives you a bit of a different look because Brendan Little does not throw gas at all. So if you now have a bit of a different look from the left-handed side, you obviously have Swanson, who's good against lefties with his splitter. There's a lot of different things here that you can do, and this bullpen is looking extremely, extremely deep. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. Obviously, shout out to Johnny again for the scoop on this one. He was the one who got it first. As of the time of recording, Shot of VD, Ben Nicholas Smith haven't made the official report yet with the details of the contract. Once it comes out, we will have a video for you on that as well. But shout out to Johnny. They do great work over at Gate 14, so check them out there. But also, make sure to hit the subscribe button and let me know down below what your thoughts are on this move. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.